Right, this video is going to explain exactly how much it cost me to run this car, how much I paid for it, how much the tax is, how much tyres cost, how much brake pads cost, oil, fuel, insurance, everything like that. We're going to explain in detail the exact costs for running a car like this. I say a car like this, obviously it's not a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, so it's probably not typical costs for an exotic supercar because it's not quite as exotic and rare as those. So I think the servicing costs and the running costs and everything like that have been quite a bit less than they would be on, say, a Ferrari, but obviously it's still not your typical family car, so it is quite a bit more expensive than the average car. Yeah, the previous video that we did on my M3 that I had before this, where I explained the insurance costs and the running costs and everything of that, that's been pretty popular, so I figured I would do one on the R8 as well. But also, just for anyone who's considering buying an R8 at some point, it's good to have an idea of how much it's going to cost you to actually run once you've bought it. Right, let's start with the cost of the car itself. It was £72,000 when I bought it nearly a year ago now. That's roughly $130,000, $120,000, something like that. Just to give a rough idea, because I know a lot of people probably aren't too familiar with British pounds. So yeah, $130,000-ish. A few people asked me if I got finance on it and how much deposit I put down, etc. I didn't get finance on this one, I did pay this one in full. The previous R8 that I had before this, I did get a little bit of finance on that. I think the price of the previous one was $65,000. I think I put down about $50,000 and then financed the remaining 15. But then this one I waited until I could actually afford to pay the full thing. So there's no finance, I can't give you any details on that, I'm afraid. Tax, it's £500 for a year for road tax, so it's the maximum amount that you can pay, which is great. It's always fun, but luckily it's only once a year that you have to pay that. Right, for a general service, just an oil change and brake fluid change from my local Audi dealership, it was £350, which again in dollars is about $500, $600, something like that. So it's more expensive than your average car, but it's not ridiculous just for a normal service. But some of the parts, as I'll discuss in a minute, like brake pads and brake discs, are quite expensive. Right, next thing is tyres. I do get through tyres quite quickly because, as you'll see, I do like to do donuts and slides and things. I find it a lot of fun. The drift day that I did in my M3 at Alton Park was one of the most fun days I've ever had in a car. So shortly after getting the car, I did a couple of track days, and that ruined the first set of tyres that I had on there. They were Pirelli P0 tyres. A lot of people on the R8 forums and things mentioned that the Michelin Pilot Supersports were a lot better. So once those Pirellis had been destroyed, I got 4 Michelin Pilot Supersports, and for 4 of those, so all the tyres, it was £900, I think, almost exactly. So it's a hell of a lot more than a normal car, but compared to the M3, it was actually cheaper to get these tyres for the R8. The next thing was insurance. Obviously this will vary a lot depending on where you live, how old you are, your car history, your no claims bonus, all sorts of things. So it's probably not going to be that useful me telling you how much it cost me, but just so you've got a rough idea. It's £1,800 for me for a year, and I'm 25 years old, well 26 now, but I was 25 when I insured it, and that's with 6 years no claims, so that gives you a rough idea. The Audi extended warranty, because I bought this car when it was just 3 years old, so the factory warranty had just run out, or it ran out about a month after I got it, I think. So I purchased the Audi extended warranty, just in case anything major went wrong, and that was £1,800 for 1 year, which is quite a lot, if you ask me, especially when it doesn't cover that much. Obviously, some things like wear and tear, brake pads and things it doesn't cover, but other things, like some of the seat material came away on one of the seats, and they said no, they don't cover that. There was like a knocking noise from the suspension at one point, and they said it doesn't cover that. I mean, there has been a few things that it has covered. There was something else wrong with one of the other suspension parts, and it did cover that. So I didn't have to pay like 300 quid for suspension parts, but so far I've not really got my £1,800 worth yet, but we'll see, there's still another few months left. If anything else goes wrong, I probably will roughly sort of break even. Now, if you drive it sensibly, you could probably get about 25, 26 miles to the gallon. But as I've got another car, like as a sort of daily driver, if I'm just going to the shops or whatever, I'll take that. The only time I get the R8 out generally is if I want to go and drive it quite quickly. So I tend to get roughly about 17 miles to the gallon on average. I mean, other people will get different figures because it depends how you're using it, but like I say, for me, it's purely just a weekend fun car. So I tend to kind of thrash it most of the time. So 18, 17 miles to the gallon on average. On a track day, that average goes down to about 9 miles to the gallon, which is ridiculous, but that's a track day, you know, you are literally flat out the whole time, so it's not really that surprising. I'd say realistically, if you're just driving it around normally, you get about 22, 23. So not terrible, and again, better than the M3 that I had before, so I can't complain really. One good thing about the fuel though is that it does have a very large tank. I think it's about 90 litres or 92 litres, something like that, which means it costs a fortune when you actually fill up. It's cost about £120 to fill up before, but it does mean it lasts quite a while. Even if you are thrashing it, you can go quite a long way, which is handy when you're only getting 17 miles to the gallon, I guess. The next consumable thing, like fuel, is oil. This one doesn't seem to get through that much oil. The previous R8 I had did drink quite a bit. Apparently it can sort of depend on how well they were running and things like that. I don't know too much about the technical and mechanical side of things, but all I know is this one seems to use a lot less oil. So I bought a 5 litre bottle of castor oil when I first got it, and that was £40, and I've not used it all yet. So that's lasted basically, I would say that would last about a year, that 5 litres. Doing the track day does destroy your brake pads pretty quickly. So I had to get 2 new brake pads fitted on the front, which was £300 for 2 brake pads. Apparently that's only about £180 of that is for the actual pads, and then the rest is just labour. So yeah, if you were doing it yourself, you could probably save yourself a lot of money, but I just take it to Audi and get them to do everything. I just prefer it that way. It saves me doing something wrong and ending up killing myself because I've not put the brakes on properly. Yeah, I wouldn't trust myself with that. So yeah, £300 for 2 brake pads. I did also have to get the rear pads replaced because of some other issue, I can't remember now. There's been a few issues around like noises when braking and noises just from the wheels in general and suspension. But I say some of that's been covered under warranty. Some of it, like these 2 brake pads on the rears, I had to fork out for, so that was another 300 quid. And I also managed to warp one of the front discs on the track day. So I had to get both the front discs replaced, which was £700. Again, that's including the labour charge. I don't know how much the discs actually cost on their own, but that was £700 for 2 front discs to be fitted. So I guess that's pretty much it. There's not really been any other costs. I mean, that's enough costs that I've listed there. I dread to think, adding it all up, how much that's actually cost in total. But anyway, I hope that's been insightful and useful to anyone who's thinking of getting one. If you've got any other questions about any of the costs, then just leave them down in the comment section below. I'll try and answer as soon as I can.